program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to a very hot and humid afternoon in the African wilderness, and this is Safari Live.
You are live.
Hello again and welcome, like I said earlier, to an incredibly hot and humid afternoon. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me we have Brian and the thumb, who I don't even know who the thumb is today. I'm going to have a look. Where is the thumb?
Can't get it in.
You can't get it in with the bumps. Let's pause so we can get the thumb, because we know the thumb is very important. Oh, is that a knife?
Yes.
Knife thumb, very sharp. Hopefully we won't get any sarcastic remarks from the thumb this afternoon. Now, we've just arrived at Red Dam. Remember this morning I mentioned to you that the Nkuhumas had killed some buffalo around here. But now we need to try and find out where exactly they are. So we're here on Arathusa at Red Dam. Let's have a little look at the watering hole and see what's happening. Now, Brian, do you see any lions here? I don't. I just see some water that looks extremely inviting, and I wouldn't mind jumping in and having a little swim. The only thing that's really around are two blacksmith lapwings. There they are, racing around, possibly looking for something to eat. And I suspect that they'll find lots of little insects on the surface of the water and along that sort of muddy section. And then there's also, there's an array of birds. There's a sandpiper down on the left. There's actually two little birds there. There's a little, oh no, it's gone now. There goes the sandpiper. Bye-bye. Isn't that beautiful? Bobbing away. No, now it's having a good groom. And there's one last little bird that I want to show you. It's a little three-banded plover, which is way on the left. I have to duck down for this one. Here it is. Also collecting all the little insects. Now, wasn't that a wonderful way to start the safari? Having a look and seeing three different species of birds. Now, we're going to continue the search for the elusive Nkuhumas. And remember, there's still James is driving this afternoon. It's a bit hot, and James would like to say hello to you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this end of your sunset safari. The sun is not quite setting yet, but it is mercifully behind some cloud, and you can see that it's actually quite pleasant now that it is behind the cloud. I'm sure the clouds, like the politicians of the world, the US certainly at the moment, and certainly in South Africa, promising much, but will they deliver? That is the question. My name is James Hendry, in case you're wondering. David is on camera. Hello, David. Very nice. David has got quite an impressive array of hair that I noticed today, which made me feel very jealous on account of the fact that I have none. Now, we're going to be going to Cheetah Plains today, and we are completely live, as Taylor is. # Safari Live if you'd like to ask us any questions. Otherwise, you can send an email, questions@WildEarth.tv. No other form of communication will work. Not mail, not carrier pigeon, not, what's that other thing that people do? You know that... Smoke signals, they also won't work. It's not the one I'm thinking of. It begins with a T. I've lost my mind. Telepathic. There we go. Or Morse code, or telegraph. There we go. Good. So that is the plan this afternoon. There was something else of vital importance I needed to tell you. Oh yes, that was that Karula went south apparently yesterday evening sometime. So we don't think she's here. But I've come down towards Twin Dams, which is where she went across sometime this morning. Maybe she's back. Maybe she isn't. Maybe there'll be something drinking at Twin Dams. You're most welcome on our little drive for the next 3 hours. I hope you enjoy yourself with us. Oh, Cat in Tampa, you want to know if you see a bird on the pre-show show. Does it count for your list? Yes, absolutely it counts for your list, Cat. especially if you can get me to say anything coherent during the pre-show show, then absolutely it counts. Yes, and thank you for not interrupting my meditation, Cat, with a question during the pre-show show. Now there's some Impala up ahead, so let's stop at them. That's a good start. Now we're looking for two things here. The first thing we're looking for is the first Impala lamb of the season, which is not here. The second thing we're looking for is mange, evidence of mange. And that's because we found it now on jackals, we found it on Nyala, we found it on, I think, Duiker. We've definitely found it on the lions, obviously. So it's clearly something of an epidemic that's going through everyone here. That male looks ropey in the extreme. And I think that's very strange. This drought has brought about all sorts of diseases that these animals are not used to fighting off. I really do like colour. For me is an important part of everyday living, and while I make no claim to be a colourist of any sort, it's always these little combinations of colour that I really enjoy, and the green of the bushes and that red colour of the Impala's fur I really like a lot. In the background, some crickets, tick, 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 and of course the black-headed oriole as well. Right, Taylor is still at Red Dam looking for the lions. I'm not sure if she's managed to find them. Let's find out.
Well, we are trying our best. Now, Brian and I, and of course Thumb, we're trying to follow our noses because I can't get hold of any of the Arathusa rangers. So we're just going to follow all the vehicle tracks that are around here until it takes us to the lions. And there's definitely something that has died here because it smells a bit, well, it's a bit smelly. But let's have a look. I'm just going to scan around here. I don't want to miss them. They said they were at the dam, but I didn't see anything at the dam. So I wonder if it wasn't, they aren't around here somewhere. Where are you, Leons? Don't hide from me for day number 2. Don't see anything here. Let's go back. There's some more tracks here. Let's follow these ones. Oh, there's very many different sets of vehicle tracks going up and down and around. Now, perhaps if you've just tuned in for the first time and you're wondering what on earth we are doing, we are on a live safari. And if you'd like to chat to us and ask us any questions, be careful here, Brian. You're welcome to do so by either hashtagging Safari Live, or you can pop us an email at questions@WildEarth.tv. Right, let's see. Oh, I've just lost my earpiece out of my ear. Kahumas. I hope James finds something interesting at Cheetah Plains. I haven't actually been to Cheetah Plains in ages. I'll definitely have to take a swing past there at some point. Right, I can't see anything up here. I don't know, I must be going crazy. We'll just take a little bit of a drive a little bit further along. Don't know why I didn't see anything around here. Sorry, sandpiper. Just chase the sandpiper away again, just as it was starting to settle in. I'm going to go back sort of the way I came. I just want to double and triple check, and I'm also trying to listen to the radio, but it's very difficult. No. You see, this is where the difficult part is. We've got to try and figure out what's going on around here. Brian, do you have any suggestions? No, I don't think that they're here because that smell was coming from back the other way. Okay, well, we'll go back. Eventually, if we go up and down here enough, we're probably going to bump into them. Let's see them. The guides are chatting again. Or maybe they'll share us some valuable information that I'll hear sort of a couple of words and then be able to put 2 and 2 together. Now, normally, if they're at the dam, they should have been quite obvious to see. But I'm clearly missing something. What do you think, Brian? Do you think I'm missing some information? We can smell something. Let's go around the corner. Let's go down here and check in the drainage. Maybe there was a kill around here and then they've taken it and dragged it down into the drainage. But we also know what the nkuhumas are like, and that because they're so spoilt at the moment, they don't seem to be finishing their carcasses off. That one that they took down yesterday, they left it. We've got some zebra, so now I'm very confused as to where the lions are. I also saw a couple of Impala hanging around here, so maybe they've completely moved off. Just check for footprints as we drive. Right, let's have a quick look at the zebra that's over here. Let's see what's happening. Hi zebra, have you seen any lions this afternoon? No? I'd take that as a big no. Looks like we've got a stallion. And there was another one as well, possibly that also looks like a stallion in the far distance. And they're quite happily munching away, carrying on with their days. Now zebra, be careful, because I've heard rumors that there's lions around here, and I don't know if you've met the nkuhumas before, but I would be very, very cautious around them. But we don't often see the lions catching zebra. They do enjoy eating zebra. We actually saw the zebras being caught in Kenya, in the Mara with James, which was quite interesting. And it's amazing how the different lions in the different areas prefer different species. It was like when I was down in the Eastern Cape, they absolutely love wildebeest, as well as an antelope called a blessbuck. They used to catch them all the time. You didn't really see them eating buffalo, and occasionally they would also catch giraffe, which was quite amazing to see. Right, but I think what we're going to do now is we're going to carry on searching, and I'm going to try and drive to a little high point and see if I can't get hold of somebody from Arathusa. And while I do that, before we lose James, let's go across to him.
Ha! 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 That, everybody, is my Hadada impression, and it's very good, isn't it, David? Yes, it is. Apparently I was asked to do that by Taylor. She said I had to do a Hadada impression, so that's what I've done. Of course, the master of the Hadada impression, and indeed probably all impressions, is Brian Joubert. Just listen in the background there. Sounds like a human being, doesn't it? That is the orange-breasted bush shrike, not the Hadada, which is mercifully silent. As I've said to you before, after a big night out, the last thing you want to do is be assailed by the call of a Hadada on your roof at 5 a.m. Now, there are some squirrels alarm calling up ahead as well, so we're just going to keep an eye on the road to see if the queen doesn't pop out. In the meantime, I will show you a picture, to those of you who haven't seen it, of the orange-breasted bush shrike. Now, I've only found the orange-breasted bushshrike in this book about 7,874 times, and yet still I must go to the index to look up bushshrike. There we go. 401. There it is. That is the orange-breasted bushshrike over there. Isn't he gorgeous? So gorgeous. Right, that is the, in fact, speaking of gorgeous, that is the gorgeous bushshrike there. There we are. Beautiful. Now, a comment from somebody of whom we are all very fond indeed, and that is Nicola Austin. Hello, Nicola Austin, all the way from Kenya. She is speaking to us, everyone. She's sending her fond regards to Louise and Kirsten. Of course, Taylor and I are chopped liver to Nicola, apparently. So's David, so's Brian. Oh well. We still love you, Nicola, and thank you for tuning in to this marvellous safari here from, as you well know, the northeast corner of South Africa. This is very good news. Nikki says she misses you. Now, who you is, I don't know. She doesn't say. So I'm just going to take it that she misses us all. This is where the squirrel was alarm calling. So that's why I've stopped here. And apparently, everybody, Scott has managed to get out of the office today and is actually guiding today. So I'm sure he's much happier doing that than sending emails. They also, in case you haven't been following the fates of Scott and Nikki, they have some chickens, a vegetable patch, and various other interesting things going on in Kenya. Follow them on Instagram. You will not be vaguely disappointed. All right, on we go. The squirrel has stopped alarm calling. It may well have been that David's impressive long locks that it was alarming, because he looks a little bit like a lion, but I'm not sure. Whatever it was is not here. It is also, of course, Scott Dyson's birthday tomorrow. He will be 19 tomorrow. He won't really be 19, everyone. And Nikki is very kindly sent through one more greeting to me. She says, hello, chopped liver James. Now, if you don't know who Nikki Austin and Scott Dyson are, they were two of Safari Live's favourite sons. I nearly said, well, one son and one daughter. And Scott was a presenter, and Nikki was a director. And they were here for some time. And they're now in Kenya, having an adventure. Now, here are some Nyalas. A young group of Nyala bulls. And I must just tell you that the amount of general game at the moment is astounding. Even if it does want to hide behind a bush. I'm just going to go a little bit forward so we can get a better view of it. And the reason that there is so much general game, of course, is that there has been a relatively large amount of rain here in the northern Sabi sand. But in the south, almost nothing. So just about everything that lives down in the south has come up here. Now, that might sound like it's some sort of migration. It's really not very far down to the south of the Sabi sand. So there is a kind of mini migration, I suppose you could call it. There's a strange wind blowing in from the northwest. That normally brings with it a storm, so maybe we'll be lucky. There was no wind, at least there was no rain forecast for the day. And Google, which of course holds the truth to everything, doesn't it, David, says 0% chance of precipitation. Well, Google, maybe you'll be wrong today. Those lovely legs. I think I'm going to describe my legs as Nyala legs from now on, David, not lapwing legs. Right, let's continue. I'm going to just reverse, everyone, so that we can get out of here and go down towards Cheetah Plains. I see behind us Andrew from Cheetah Plains has stopped. He thinks we've seen something spectacular. We could, of course, pretend that we've just left Karula going in there. Shall we do that? I don't think that would be very kind of us, David, would it? Right. They're looking at some zebra. And the zebra in the clearing there. I'd love to know how zebra became zebra. So it is though, David. What do you say?
Zebra.
Zebra, yes, that's good. Little kinship group of just 3. Or it could be, it probably is actually 3 young stallions who will be trying to find a harem of their own. Not quite as pretty as the red juxtaposed with the green, I don't think. I like zebras more in winter, I think, where there's a golden colour to the bush. Good afternoon.
Good,
Hello, everybody. Right, Taylor is having some trouble finding those lions. I suspect they've moved off and killed something else somewhere close by, but let's go and find out what the story is there.
You're quite right, James. That's definitely possible, but the problem is that I can't even find the carcasses. I don't see any signs of vulture. I have no idea. Is there perhaps another red dam that I'm not sure of? Because Brian and I can't see anything. We can get, there's a smell, but the smell disappears from us. And like I said, we followed all the vehicle tracks, and they just sort of do loops around each other. So we're just going to actually have to wait patiently until somebody gets here and can guide us to the sighting. But for the moment of the sighting actually being right at Red Dam, I don't think it is. I think it's in the bushes 750 kilometers from Red Dam, maybe. But I can't see anything right here. And you know how easy it is to spot those lines. It's quite dry. It's not too thick, especially around here. It's not thick at all. There's one thing that could maybe be a line. Let me go back and just have a look. But I don't think it is. Let's see if we can go along this little track here on this side of the dam. Let's have a little squiz around here. We'll follow it again. We've done almost all of them now. We'll just triple and quadruple check until we find something. And you're just going to have to stick with me and go on this little mission. And I have yet to be able to get hold of anybody from Arathusa. Right, let's have a look here. And we're coming up to a little thicket, so maybe they're in here somewhere. There was a little stick that got stuck there that made it sound a lot worse than what it actually was. Bouncing underneath the tires. Yeah, kitty cats. Now it's fairly open. Like I said, it's not thick, and you can see for a good 50-60 meters into this thicket. And I'm not seeing anything. Come out, wherever you are. Now, as a guide, I must tell you that this is probably one of the hardest things, trying to relocate sightings of animals where you're not 100% sure where they are. You just sort of hear a couple of words, and then you've got to try and guess, and then you follow the fresh tracks. But I haven't really seen any lion tracks either. Ooh. None coming out. But we shall persevere. Let's go back. Maybe we'll just have to sit at the dam and wait. It's a pity our friend the hippo is not here. At least he would have been able to have kept us company. And there should definitely be remains of a carcass, a skull at least, if not some vertebrae and some other things. Just triple checking that maybe I'm overlooking something. This is very peculiar. Now what do you think? Can anybody help me? Perhaps? Maybe one of the viewers, maybe somebody has got some powers that they have a sort of telepathic connection with the kahunas. See, we can even smell the dead smell in here. I'm going to park on top and we can look back down. I'm so sorry for the third time, Mr. Sandpiper. Doesn't enjoy me very much. But we'll just wait until somebody comes around here, because we've gone and checked the various areas. We just triple checked that I didn't miss any footprints. It doesn't seem that way, but we'll have a little look at, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Blacksmith Lapwing. And they seem to be quite happy because really they've got this entire watering hole all to themselves, and aren't they quite lucky? And I love the way that they sort of sit down like that. Now you can see it's gone from being a relatively tall bird to quite small now. Now I'm sure you can see the surface of the water, and it's rippling quite a bit. There are lots and lots of insects around on this hot, humid day. And James was actually asking if there are any signs of catfish. I haven't seen anything just yet, but I'm sure we should start to see them popping up in the dam. They're sort of quite prominent. And if you've ever wondered how do fish get transported to the various dams, because we don't introduce them. So from the tilapia and the catfish. What am I hearing? Sorry, I can hear there's a beetle or something somewhere in one of these little nooks and crannies that are in jigger, and it's crawling around. I'll try and rescue it at some point. Now, what happens is something even like this blacksmith lapwing, the Egyptian geese that we see around here, or even any of the herons or the storks, the saddle-billed storks, they often visit various water points. And if the fish have laid eggs and those birds are perhaps wading through the water, those eggs will actually get stuck to the various water birds' legs, and then when they move off and go to another water point, they actually transfer those eggs that way, and that is often how the fish are spread from dam to dam, which I think is quite amazing. But there'll definitely be some catfish in here. Maybe they're quite small. A couple of tilapia, I'm sure. Oh, I'm just listening very quickly to the radio. He might be able to get hold of somebody now. Let's see if I can get hold of anybody. Can any mobile copy me? Can anybody give me the exact lock of the Nkahumas from Red Dam? Standing by, Ryan. A negative. I followed the 2-track that sort of went north of the dam, and I had a little scratch around, but I can't see anything. Whereabouts exactly were they left?
Head on the parallel, head north towards where those mudwallers were. You'll see there's 2 Nyala bumpers right around there.
Copy. Thank you very much. So we're just having a look here.
I'm making my way to there, so I should give you a hand within the next 10 minutes.
Ah, okay. So it seems as though they're not at Red Dam. There we go.
They're dragging Djuma into the west of southwest where we're there this morning.
Copy, well done. Can I come and join you, please? I'm just here at Red Dam.
Oh yeah, just stick to Ryan and Jamie. Yeah, just stick to Ryan and Jamie. That'll make you work straight in, I'll hang back.
Copy, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to use my GPS here. So it seems as though they weren't at Red Dam at all. So we weren't going bonkers. The heat hadn't quite gotten to us and melted our brains. They're on Parallel Road. So, yeah. So we will go around. Let's quickly go and have a look. Like I said, I thought that was possibly the case, that they actually weren't anywhere near the dam, because we're normally quite good, hey Brian, at finding the lines. They're not always too hard to find. This morning they gave us a slip for quite some time, but that's okay. We'll get them now. So, just going to very quickly make my way there, but stick with me. It'll be well worth it. I'm not very good at navigating on Arathusa. I don't come here too often, but we'll jump onto Parallel Road. And I suspect in the next few meters, yes. There we go. Here's the road we need to be on. And down we go. We're not far now. And then it sounds as though somebody else has actually just got here. And the signal's sort of very intermittent around here, so you've got to be quiet. You've got to try and get to the highest point to try and find anybody. But woohoo! We're on the right route. It can't be too easy all the time, otherwise I suppose it would take the fun out of it, wouldn't it? Now I can start to see vultures circling in the sky. I wonder if they've perhaps had a look. They're quite far up. I don't know if we'll try and get one of their one that I can see. The others are quite high. It may be a little bit difficult to see, but they're up there. You'll just have to take my word for it. Well, and now we're looking for a vehicle. All the lions. Here's the mud wallow. He said something about mud wallows, so they must be close. Jared, you spot on, there's some serious pressure this afternoon. You said I need to save the cattery, and you're quite right, but don't worry, we will, because another ranger has just got here and said that the lions are indeed here, so now we just need to find him. But we're on the right road. We're not anywhere near Red Dam anymore. We will get them. I'm just going to take it easy. I see a vehicle. Yeah. I hope you're as excited as I am. I haven't seen the lions now for a couple of days. Well, not actually a couple of days, just a full day, which is unusual, as you know. We normally see cats all the time. And like I said this morning, it felt as though I was off forever. It was quite strange. But here we go. I just want to call myself that we have got their visual and we're in their sighting. Thank you. I've got your visual. I'm in your lock. And now, unfortunately, we won't be able to stay too long. Now I can see many vultures. Many vultures. Oh, we find a little way in here. We just take it easy and go say, hi vultures, bye vultures. We're not going to spend too much time looking at the beautiful vultures, just because, like I said, our time here is going to be very limited. Just because there's a lot of vehicles that want to come here. Remember how spoiled we have been to keep seeing the Nkuhumas? These guys don't often get to see big male lions. Not if, I'm sure if the Birminghams are here, but nonetheless, this is probably one of the larger prides that they get to see, so it's very exciting for them. So we won't hog it. Let's creep on forward. We'll go at a snail's pace. Oh, I can start to see them. Okay, we'll just stop quickly and let this gentleman reposition. I can see the little cubs. They're in the distance. Now, the reason why I stopped and I haven't carried on moving is, and I've said this a couple of times, but I know we're constantly having new viewers. I did an exercise where we all laid down on the ground and we had 7 vehicles moving around us at once. It was horrible. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't do it. It was a nightmare. I could imagine that the lions would get up and run away. So we try and always limit the movement. And well, it means we just have to be a little bit on the patient side. Here we go. Let's see if we can get a better view now. I wonder if we can be sneaky. What do you think? Do you think we could get under there? No, because I think that's going to be our best view. Because I think we're not going to see much at all. We're going to have to try, because I think it's going to be really worth it, because there's a beautiful gap. But we're going to have to do some ducking and diving. And we're gonna stay here. The lions are right here, but we just need to sneak under. Like I said, our time here. Okay. Like I said, I always want to get the best view for you. We're going to get a nice view here. Just got to... Luckily, we've got a very small vehicle, and we're able to do things that no one else is able to do. There you go. How's that, Brian? Can you see them? There we go. We'll just sit like this, because here's a little gap. Now, they've taken this kill, obviously, and taken under a couple of trees. So it's not as beautiful and as clear as what we normally see, but I suppose it's better than nothing. And finally, we've got the Nkuhumas. Now, it looks like a young buffalo that they're feeding on at the moment. Apparently there was another, if I'm not mistaken, there were 2, so I'm not sure where the other one is. I can't see too many members of the pride at the moment. I can just see this lioness and one cub. But I suspect that the others are probably just off in the shade somewhere. Hello, Nikki, who's watching us from Kenya. I've heard lots about you, and it's so great that you're still watching us. Now, Nikki would like to know this afternoon, how many cubs do the Nkuhumas have? Well, Nikki, I'm so happy to say that they've had 8 cubs, and they've still got 8 cubs. How exciting is that? Because I just heard some terrible news from down south. You know how I often talk about the Southern Pride, which is very similar to the Nkuhumas, in the sense that they are made up of 5 lionesses, and they also had 8 cubs. But it sounds like 2 of the youngest cubs, unfortunately, have not made it. They haven't been seen for about 2 weeks now, which is very sad. And that's how it goes. They normally say about 60% of cubs don't even make it to adulthood. And when I say adulthood, I mean over the age of about 2. So we are very, very lucky that these little Nkuhumas are doing so well. And I think that that's thanks to the fact that we are experiencing a little drought at the moment. So the animals are weakened, and therefore the adults are being so successful in capturing their prey. And well, when there's a lot of food around, it means that adults can eat a bit, and then they're just going to be producing lots and lots of milk. And milk is so important to these cubs. It's got all the valuable nutrients that they need, and all the antibiotics and all those types of things. So that's good. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to navigate and have a look at the others. It seems very, very thick in here. Lots of quarries and terminalias and bush willows, but sort of quite densely packed together. At least we've got a view of one. And it seems as though Arathusa is also having a fly plague at the moment. They don't discriminate, eh? The flies, they just go wherever they like. But I'm hoping that the Nkuhumas come home tonight. I'd love it if they came back north and came back onto Djuma. There's a little cub. Looks like one of the older cubs disappearing into the distance, possibly heading towards where the rest of the pride is sleeping. You can see how thick it is. How it just sort of, that cub just disappears behind all that vegetation. Remember to take lots and lots of screenshots. And we'd love to see them. And she's crunching away. She doesn't look particularly fat, does she, Brian? She hasn't got a big belly on her. But when you've got so much food around, you don't need to dive in and guts as much as you can in one go. You'll see when we start to get into summer, when we get to sort of February, March, around that time of the year, I'm wondering if the Nkuhumas are going to continue with their success rate of capturing their prey. I think it's going to get a lot harder. And then we should see feeding frenzies around the carcass where everybody will be fighting for a bite because, well, when the bush gets greener, it becomes a lot more difficult. The animals tend to spread out. And there's not going to be so many weakened animals around, which make for easy targets. You can see she's using out the carnassial shear, trying to scissor off the flesh from the skin. Now we're seeing a lot of flies obviously on the carcasses, and I know that G Monster is wondering if the lions can catch anything from them. So G Monster, I don't know if you remember Mr. Tinyo. I'm not Mr. Tinyo, sorry, Mfumo. He's got the big sort of gaping hole on the side of his face. Now, he got a type of myiasis from the flies, from the blowflies, or either a botfly, we're unsure, most likely a blowfly, but there are some species of botflies that lay their eggs inside the skin, and their larvae will feed on live tissue. Now, typically the maggots of flies will feed on decaying tissue, but there's various different types. For instance, blowfly larvae need live tissue to feed for them to survive. And that's something that they can get. So I know it's quite common in cats and dogs and sheep and pigs and things like that to often pick up in sort of intestinal larvae, where whatever they may be eating, they ingest a couple of eggs, their larvae hatches. It can make them a bit sick. It can sort of induce vomiting and diarrhea. But that passes off after a couple of days. It's not life-threatening, perhaps unless the animal is severely dehydrated. And unfortunately, Mfumo, we suspect that he had an injury, a small cut on his face from maybe one of the females when they had a bit of an argument and she swiped him and left a little bit of a gash. And a blowfly or either a botfly, something along those lines, actually physically laid its eggs inside that. And then we saw the maggots hatch and start feeding on his live flesh. So that's something that they can get. But other than that, it's no harm if they eat the odd fly, and I'm sure they do. And I'm sure when there's maggots on the carcass, they probably try and eat around it. At the moment, they've been quite picky, though. Remember, we saw about a week ago, almost maybe 2 weeks ago, we watched the lions go to a carcass filled with maggots, sort of bite at it a bit and then move on. Go to a second buffalo that hadn't even died yet. Sort of play around with him, unfortunately, for a little bit, and then they moved on. Now, like I said, summer will be completely different. If they were to come across a carcass and they hadn't eaten for 4 days, they're going to eat it regardless if it's covered in maggots or not. And then there's a possibility that they're going to ingest a couple of maggots too. It's all protein, but that wouldn't do them too much harm. And that little cub trying to get into some of the juicy bits there. And that lioness is just letting off a subtle growl every now and then. Now, James, you've asked me a question that unfortunately I don't know the answer to. James, you'd like to know if it was 2 young buffalo that the lions caught. I'm not even sure. I can just see this one buffalo calf here. It's probably just over a year old, maybe even verging on 2 years old. And that's it. I can't see even where the rest of the pride is, but they're in here. They're just in this very dense thicket, but I can't see another carcass, I'm afraid. But when I get an opportunity, I'll try and ask one of the guides. Like I said, the radio communication has not been the greatest, and that's probably a combination of being down in the dips and the drainage, and as well as the heat. But they've eaten quite a fair amount of this, so I suspect that the other nkuhumas have probably got very full bellies. And maybe this lioness was just sort of lying up resting. Maybe she did quite a bit of hard work. And she is now eating her fill. Right, we're going to try and stay here for a little bit longer. Maybe we'll be able to come back and have one last look. But let's go back across to James, and he has finally arrived at Cheetah Plains.
I'm just heading up here, everybody, to see if I can't see something from up here. We're on the southern boundary of Cheetah Plains. I'm now going to look heroic, David. Are you watching? Do I look heroic? Good. The main reason I wanted to come up here was because this looked like a very good seat. Oh, it is very good indeed. This is quite comfortable, everyone. I shall describe it to you, because obviously where you're sitting you won't be able to quite feel it. Look, the feeling of ants climbing into my short leg is something disconcerting, especially when one thinks about how they're going to bite me shortly in, well, my inner thigh is quite sensitive, so I think we'll probably move from here. But it is very warm. The soil is warm up here. And there is also some wild asparagus, which I shall bring down to show you. One of the asparagus species, I think it is an asparagus, I'm pretty sure. But I didn't see Nkanyeni or Styx Pride or Quarantine from up there. See, David, I don't think this is the variety that makes your pee-pee smell. That's not too bad, actually. I think it's asparagus. I'm not sure. So I'm just going to spit it out. On the off chance that I'm poisoned myself. One doesn't want to do that. Especially not on a hot day like this, David. You can drive the car though, can't you? Yes, good. Excellent. On we go. Whew. It's very hot, everybody. It's very hot. I'm glad those lions are finally found. Poor Taylor was sent on a wild goose chase. Now we're heading into the clearings. We'll see what there is there. That's Mala Mala to the south, to the right. Hello, Darlene. Nice question from you, and I have seen these things myself. We're going into the clearings, which of course that's the place that we see ostriches, and you say you've been obviously following the Londolozi blog, and they had 6 ostrich chicks, which I think have all been eaten, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, you say if they were to grow up, would they come here? Absolutely they would. You say, do they roam? They do roam. There is an elephant over there. It's not an elephant, it's that thing with the horns. What's it called again? Buffalo, that's it. We'll try and get a view. There are quite a few of them here. It's a whole hide of them. Darlene, and what you'll find is that because they roam, they will come to and from between clearings like this. So they'd go towards the clearings of Londolozi, come back up here, see what they could find to eat, and absolutely they would roam around. Now that buffalo, astonishingly, despite it being close to 2 of the biggest clearings in the Sabi Sand, is browsing, which I think is quite odd, especially as its condition is so very poor. There's one viewer today, everybody, who's being extremely enthusiastic about asking questions. Nikki Austin has something else to say. She wants to know if I have purchased new shorts. This, Nicola, is the latest in bush haute couture. It's called Bush Blue. I did get new shorts. Thank you, Nikki, for noticing. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this, but the buffalo on Djuma, to me, look in far better shape than this bunch. And I think that that's because there's been very little rain here. And this lot, quite unlike the Nyala and the warthogs and various other species, have not sort of congregated around the rainy areas where it has rained. And why they're still here, suffering under the regime of the drought, I'm not really sure. But I will just back that up for you by asking David to turn the, well, you can have a look there if you want, first. And then can we pan off to the right-hand side into Mala Mala? And you can see that it is nothing like as green as Quarantine, for example. You can see it still looks quite desertified. And then there are some Wildebeest. They're quite a large herd of Wildebeest. Let me count them quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 20 of them, plus minus. All the way across there in Mala Mala. So we are now doing what is called illegal viewing, everybody. We are looking at animals on another reserve. We're very naughty. I am, of course, talking utter nonsense. We can look where we want. Right, on we go. The clearing's not far away. And it's nearly lambing or calving season for those wildebeest. So soon we'll have some little ones, I hope. There is an elephant, David. I told you there was an elephant, didn't I? It's making its way down, well, away from the water at high speed. There it goes. And now it's coming towards it. It's a climbing elephant, I hope. Come on, up on top. It's a wonderful sighting, isn't it? Every 5 seconds you see a flap. There's another one behind it though, Dave. There we are. I think there's a nice water hole there for them. Now they will roam quite far. Very nice. There's another one. Our cup runneth over. And it's always so peaceful to watch them walk, especially if you can't hear them moving. Yesterday, if you weren't watching, David and I had the most astounding elephant sighting with an enormous bull elephant who showed us absolutely no measure of aggression or irritation, but he came within sort of 2 feet of the vehicle or so, and it was a profound experience. He came walking around here, and then he broke a tree basically where I could touch it, and the only reason we moved off was the second part of the tree was going to fall on David's head, so we headed off from there. He hardly paid us any heed whatsoever. That's of course the best thing. That's why we do what we do. We hope that the animals are not going to react and interact with us. We just want to observe them. We want them to feel as comfortable as possible around us. I don't see a great swathe of life running through the drainage or running through the clearings here. There's a wildebeest a little closer by. Louise, probably a good idea to do a little test on the comms. Yes, we're still good. We do tend to lose signal with them from here. Let's go and have a look at this wildebeest, and then we can scan the clearings from there. See if there isn't something spotted lurking on the fringes in the ecotone. Still got you, Louise, still got you. Yes, it is quite humid, I must say. When Taylor said it was humid, I didn't really feel about it. Now, here are some wildebeest. Louise, I'm afraid I missed that last transmission entirely. We're now out of range. You will have to send me a "What's up?" No, I don't copy. All I hear is so 2 wildebeest here. While you look at them, I'm going to scan the clearings with my binoculars. Now, if we were to find a cheetah here, we would find it probably lurking in the shade on the fringes of the clearings, waiting for something unsuspecting to come wandering into them. Then it would break cover and charge them down. But I don't see any such thing around here at the moment. These wildebeest are being tremendously confiding. Hello. Bow. 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 Good grief. David, do you know what Louise has just said to me? We're trying something new today. We're on Periscope. Do you know what Periscope is, David?
Yes, I do.
Oh, well, you're a modern man, aren't you? I also know what it is, of course. My good friend Hayden Turner told me. So all of you on Periscope watching us, welcome. It's lovely to have you with us. You can send us a question. I think you can send it probably in some form of comment section. Otherwise, #SafariLive, questions@WildEarthTV, and we'd love to hear from you. Ask us any questions you like. Tell us what you think about what's going on here, and we'll do our best to answer your questions. Wonderful to have you with us on live safari from South Africa, the world's most beautiful country. We're just going to go up ahead and then up towards another waterhole off to the north of where we are now. North is there. That, of course, makes west behind us, east straight in front of us. And David to the right is? South. Well done, south indeed. This is kind of an eerie light, but these clouds, I think, are going to break up before they hit us, which is very sad. Especially before they hit Cheetah Plains, which definitely hasn't had as much rain as we've had at Djuma. But there is that strange, hot, berg northwesterly wind. It's blowing in from there, and it's quite hot, isn't it? It's quite sort of drying. Yes, got you now, Louisi. Alright, in the meantime, while we try and find something living in these wind-swept clearings, Taylor has got something for you, I think still on Arathusa.
We found an array of animals, and we're going to hopefully show you all of them. We found a little elephant. Now, I'm trying to work out where the adults are. It's just this little one moving around here. And I'm not sure where Mom is. Quite young to be off on its own, but possibly she's in this thicket somewhere around here. Maybe this little one was just so happy feeding on a wisteria which it was eating that perhaps it forgot about Mom, and Mom's maybe moved off. It's not too tiny, this elephant. It's quite a few years old. It's probably around maybe between 6 and 8 years old, so it should do all right. And I know that we're trying something new today, by the way, and I'd just like to welcome anybody that's watching on the Periscope Twitter. Not sure what that is, but welcome. And we're very happy to have you here. Now remember, you're welcome to ask us lots and lots of questions. Myself or James out there who's driving along on Cheetah Plains, as you know. You can do that by hashtagging Safari Live on Twitter or sending us an email, questions@WildEarthTV, and we'd love to hear from you. Now, something else I want to show you is, if I'm just going to bop my head, I want to show you who we've all got here. We've actually just left Arathusa and we're on Triple M, but we've got some giraffe and buffalo too. Isn't that quite exciting? So there's lots to talk about on this stretch of road at the moment. I suspect that we're probably going to spend quite a bit of time here. And I've also been listening out very carefully to see if I can hear any branches breaking of the rest of the herd of this young elephant bull. Now, normally the bulls don't sort of get told to go on their own until they're around anywhere between 16 and 18 years old. Now, this elephant's a little bit young. But like I said, it is possible that he has just got left behind. He's getting to the age where he's going to start exhibiting behavior where he doesn't need his mom anymore and become a little bit more independent. But that's when you typically see a group of the youngsters hanging around together. But he's disappearing, and I'm sure he'll be all right on his own. They're tough, these animals. But let's go up towards the giraffe and the buffalo. But actually, before we do, I've got a couple of go-away birds up in this. Looks like a jackalberry. Let's have a look. Can you see them up there? We'll try and get a bit closer, though. And see if they don't fly away from us. They shouldn't. We're a fair distance off the road. You can even hear a couple shouting in the background. Actually, no, this is not even a jackalberry. Sorry, I saw it from a distance. It actually looks like a ginormous silver cluster leaf, which is unusual. We don't typically see massive ones like this. And it seems as though they're just picking off the new shoots. Now, I know there's quite a few giant silver cluster leaf trees that we see on quarantine, actually. It's quite beautiful. I'd never actually seen such big ones before. They always seem to be small and in these little forests. And I'm sure you're wondering what happened to the bright blue sky that we had today, because you can see there's a bit of a grey background now. And about an hour ago, this haze sort of started settling in. The temperature's now cooling down a little bit. And Brian seems to think that we're going to get rained on. Is that still your opinion?
Man, yeah, why not?
Maybe, hey?
Maybe.
It feels like it. I hope we do. Obviously, we're not going to say no to any rain, but we know it's only allowed to rain after 7 o'clock tonight, not 1 minute before. You can see the cloud cover is getting quite thick. Well, the weatherman says that there's no rain predicted for today, but we know how wrong the weatherman can be. You can hear an orange-breasted bush shrike. Which is quite lovely, but let's go a bit closer to this giraffe that we're seeing in the distance. We're actually quite far away from it. I'm very impressed with the zoom on these cameras. Right, let's go a little closer and see who else we've got. It's a very productive stretch of road. Now, I'm also not certain what happened to Shadow. I can't remember if I heard anything about her this morning. I was obviously so obsessed with Daryl this morning. Haven't seen him yet this afternoon, and something that I was thinking of is I wonder how many times I said the word Daryl in this morning's game drive. I think I've probably said it more than 200 times, which is quite impressive. But let's go up a bit closer. Oh, and I've got some good news. Hang on, you're going to be so happy now. I saw another elephant. Let's just make everybody smile from ear to ear very quickly, because I was getting a little bit worried. But there's another elephant. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. It's just moving behind that dead tree, to the right of that dead tree. There it is. Can you see it? Now, that is an adult elephant. So as we suspected, I think that that little one had just got slightly separated from the rest of the herd. Isn't that wonderful? Now, you don't have to worry and panic like I was, because it seems as though that little elephant is going to be safe and sound. Just being a bit naughty and venturing a little too far away from home, as we know young men do. We'll be coming up to the giraffe. And something else I'm going to go and do today is we're going to go and check on the magpie shrike nest and see how those little chicks are doing. They must be getting quite big quite quickly. Hello, ladies. Oh, lady and gentlemen. Hello, girl. Oh, no, we didn't mean to scare you. She stood still for that whole time, and I thought I did a very good job at coming in quietly. It's funny how this giraffe is a little bit nervous of us, but we've got one right in front, which we'll show you in a moment. Well, she can't be too nervous because she just licked her nose for all of you. You see she's staring at us now, trying to suss out what we are. Now, I always wonder if it's perhaps not that aerial that makes him sort of think, what on earth is that? I'd be a little bit scared of it. And then now you can see we've got one right in front of us that doesn't really mind us at all. And this is a young male. You can see still lovely light in color, of course. Now he's moving off slightly. Oh, he's coming towards us. This is exciting. Hello. No, not too close. He's just going off to the side now. But much more relaxed than that female giraffe. And he's going to get there. He's still very young. I reckon he's probably not more than about, maybe he's between 12 and 15 years old, somewhere around there. He's just starting to go a little bit darker. And he's feeding on a variety of trees. He was feeding on a buffalo thorn just a moment ago, and now he's feeding on a bush willow. Very tasty. It seems as though the female in the back is now settled down, because this male hasn't showed any signs that he's uncomfortable with us, and hopefully she will feed off of his behavior. But what a lovely sight that is. Yes, it's okay, girl. We won't bite you. What I've actually noticed that I think looks quite cool, and maybe you'll agree with me, is look at his mane. You see how it's all sort of finely combed at the top? And sort of quite beautiful with all those bristles, and then as soon as you go further down towards the wither, it becomes quite spiky. And I wonder what's caused that. The hair doesn't look as sort of neat and tidy. Maybe it's got a bit wet or something. Maybe there's saliva on it and it's all stuck together. And we've just got these two here, just a young male and a female who looks well mature. And this is quite typical. I've actually just seen another I've seen two more giraffe popping out. Oh my goodness, there's quite a few of them coming this way, but I think they're going to actually come right towards us. We'll watch them. Another female looks like she's going to pop out in front of the road. There's another one disappearing off, which I can't quite tell who it is. Now, James, you were commenting and saying that you know how the giraffe have a very loose sort of structure when it comes to their herd. You were wondering, when the females are close to giving birth, do they sort of join up with other females, sort of for safety? It seems as though there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 giraffe here now. Now, that's definitely a possibility. However, I have had a different experience. They'll sort of stay in the herds, like we often see the females. And then what I have seen, and I told the story this morning when I hadn't even started guiding, I was doing my training. I watched the giraffe giving birth, and what had happened was she just moved off. She moved away from the herd to go and give birth. And once she'd given birth, then the rest of the herd actually came towards her. So I think in the sense that they sort of do then stick together, but they move off, like we see with the Impala, living in herds together. But when they give birth, they disappear. They don't give birth in the middle of the herd. They go and find a bit of brush, a bit of shelter, obviously because those little lambs are quite vulnerable, and the same thing with the giraffe calf, as they can be quite vulnerable too. Let's go up a little bit further. It's quite interesting. There's a nice journey of giraffe, and I know that there's another vehicle behind me, and I'm sure that they're probably trying to come past us. So I just want to pull off the road slightly. Let's do this so that they can squeeze past. We're now going to get the perfect bum shot of a giraffe. I've had to park at an interesting point just so that Shanae can pass us if she'd like to. I suppose I can't hog up the entire road. Hello, big boy. And he's a very obliging giraffe. Normally when we see them, they do tend to move off quite a bit and not hang around for very long. But he doesn't seem to mind us at all. He's really enjoying this bushwalk. And now we see the giraffe eating a variety of tree species. Obviously we know that they prefer to eat acacias. But unfortunately, we don't see too many acacias around here. There's the odd one here and there, but they're not prolific. For instance, in the Eastern Cape, we had the acacia karoo, or the sweet thorn acacia, and they were very prominent in the Albany thicket. There were forests of them all over the Eastern Cape, not just on reserves, but we used to have them even in the garden. And they absolutely loved to eat those acacias. Oh my goodness, we're just surrounded by giraffe this afternoon. Isn't this quite spectacular to have the tallest creature walking right next to you? And off he goes again. As we watch him masticate, and well, if you don't know what masticate means, it means chew. As we watch him chew his food with his mouth open, which my mother would be very disappointed in, I believe that James has got another kind of bovid out there on Cheetah Plains.
I think it is the only bovid, if I'm not mistaken, and there it is again, the same buffalo, well, not the same buffalo, but same species as the buffalo we saw earlier. Now, what I want you to try and do, Darby, is see the one to the left, second from the left. If you can super zoom in on its backside, that'd be great. Now, this is a slightly grim thing to tell you, but if you tilt down slightly, Dave, You can see there, now a buffalo normally has a fairly spectacular set of testicles, really, and these ones do not. They're not old at all. They're old enough to have that fairly spectacular set of testicles, but they don't have them. And it's interesting because I think buffalo, in adverse conditions, allow their testicles to kind of atrophy. They sort of take them up into the body, they lose weight completely, and I think that's what's happened here. So the body is very cleverly not wasting on energy on something that is non-essential to survival. And this, in fact, the one to the right is exactly the same. He's a bit older than the others. He's very ribby. You can see his hips all over the place. Far to the right there, Davey. There, that one. No, not even that one, even further to the right. The furthest one right that you can, there we go. You can see certainly a mature bull, but he looks ropey, and he's got not much of an undercarriage, and that is because the body's allowed it to atrophy in order to save energy expenditure. I think that's really quite clever. We often see it with the older bulls, but I mean, with that you'd kind of expect it. But with the youngsters, I think it's unusual. Okay, we're going to go with them to the water. They are going towards 3 in a row pan. I can see others converging from the sort of straight in front of us there, and then some more converging from the right. There's going to be a conference, a beefalo conference, David. And elephants coming too. Can you see the elephants, Dave? Good. Get out of the way, Beefy. Go on. Yes, I know you've had a tough time. I'm not here to be your psychologist. There are 3 elephants coming down to drink. There's a whole convergence. It's like there's some kind of sort of conference going on here. Buffalo coming from the left, elephants from the right. Let's watch and see if there's any conflict between the elephants and the buffalo. Elephants not very good at sharing their water. Another buffalo coming from that side. Big herd coming from the left. Elephants actually not stopping for a drink at all. Just on the road to somewhere else. I wonder where they're going. This water is very dirty, of course, and elephants are notoriously fussy about the water they drink. So perhaps it's just that they know of a cleaner water source somewhere around here. They're heading sort of directly towards Jacobin camp. But the buffalo not so fussy about the water they drink. Look at this long line of them coming in from the left, Dave, once you've looked at those ones. Here we have a long breeding herd. It's exactly what it is, Macanweezer. Macanweezer, you say this is a water cooler meeting in the afternoon. It is. That's exactly what it seems to be. And you know, it's so funny, we came past here, there wasn't a sausage around except the rotting carcass of one of the buffalo in the other pan. But now suddenly you get the timing right and here they are. That elephant, did you hear that? Yep. The elephant just made a very loud rumbling noise, but it wasn't very deep. It was kind of almost like a saw. Normally it's almost too deep for us to hear. Now this is a small breeding herd of buffalo, for those of you who are wondering, everybody. This is not a large herd at all. What I'm going to do is just move the vehicle a little bit so we can get a slightly better view of them drinking. And like I said to you yesterday, I think, or the day before, or whenever it was, I think things have gone beyond the stage, or certainly things had gone beyond the stage where the herds would congregate as they would normally in the dry season. We've got to the stage now where resources have become so thin on the ground that those big herds have become very small now as they search for sufficient to eat. Unfortunately, these two think I'm trying to herd them. There we go. Should get a lovely picture now of them in the water. There we go. Get my fat bonce out of the way. Oh, very interesting question from James Dungan about catfish and whether there would be some dormant eggs in the mud. Yeah, there could be, except that I would expect there to be catfish here by now because this has now been wet for a couple of weeks. And maybe there are some very small catfish there. I mean, there's certainly plenty of terrapins. They've emerged from somewhere. But I mean, how a buffalo can drink this, I just don't understand. It's largely mud. There's not a great deal of water in it. But they don't seem to mind at all. So James Dungan, I imagine there must be some dormant catfish eggs here. Whether there are little catfish that have hatched out and are now living on the algae that will be growing here. I'm sure that's what they'd start out eating, and probably the odd mosquito larvae. I wish they'd eat more mosquito larvae. Never seen so many mosquitoes as I have this year. But I certainly don't see any obvious signs of catfish, James. I was wondering what that elephant was shouting at. It wouldn't have been the buffalo. I wonder if it wasn't perhaps a predator of some sort behind us. We'll go have a look-see now. Well, yes. Very good point, Marisha. You say perhaps they're coming together for a meeting, this lot, in order to avoid a meeting with the Nkuhuma Pride, who, if you don't know, have killed roughly 40 buffalo in the last 40 days. It's not quite that many. It's probably about 30 in 40 days. It's quite astounding. And they killed 2 last night, I believe. All right, and we're going to move on from here, simply because I want to see what that elephant was shouting at. And if we don't see what that was, we might catch the elephants as they come out onto the road that way. Here's the path that they took. Yeah, you can see very obvious there. She just made a very kind of alarmed call. Nicola has left us, everybody. She's going off to do, I don't know what it is. She says she has to go, she had to run. Perhaps that means she's got work to do, or she's going for a run. Either way, nice to talk to you, Nicola, and we'll talk to you again. There is the dead buffalo. I said we wouldn't show it to you, but I think we're going to anyway. We'll check on the maggots. How are the maggots doing there, Dave? Yes, that buffalo's not alive, is it? Can't see anything, certainly. That would have been a bird that took its eye. Let's have a quick look at the maggots at the back there. Are they still living? Oh, yes, they are. They're having a wonderful time. Beautiful. That make you hungry, David? Me too. It is a seething mass. That must be where the expression seething mass comes from, because that right there is a seething mass. Full frame maggots, very nice, and their parents in the background. The regal blowfly. Dawn, very nice comment from you there in Michigan as we look at David's skillful panning over the seething mass of maggots. You say, our cameramen are so good that have any of them won any awards? I'm not aware of any. David, have you won any awards?
I'm afraid not.
Oh, no. That's just because you haven't entered any competitions. But I agree with you, Dawn. There's 2 things that are quite, on a serious note about that. The first is that nobody does this kind of thing. We're the only people in the world that do basically live wildlife broadcasting, and the techniques for doing the live stuff, I think, as David will attest, are very different to them doing the kind of traditional documentary type of thing. And so if you were to take a show reel of the live stuff and compare it with, say, a blue chip documentary footage, you'd probably find that somebody who didn't know what the live stuff was about would be quite critical of what these guys do, because they move with animals, they never let them leave the shot, they zoom and pan and tilt and on a continuous shot, which you wouldn't necessarily do, you know, if you were filming a traditional documentary. So it's very, very different stuff. But I think they're fantastic as well. Thank you, Dawn. I of course have to say that because David will refuse to film anything but the sky unless I compliment him in that way. Now the elephant path comes out onto the road over here, and I'm hoping we'll get another view. Oh, interesting, from Mary Eleanor, I was chatting about the number of buffalo that have been taken down by the Nkuhumas, and you're wondering, Mary Ellen, if that is going to make a difference to the grass. Will it help the grass sort of recover? The answer is yes, to a certain extent it will. Remember that, I mean, a huge number of animals die, I guess, of old age, or die of natural causes and disease and that sort of thing. And so although the Nkuhumas have killed 30 of them in the last little while, that will certainly make some difference to the grass recovery, but I think you'll find that drought has probably indirectly killed far more than that over the course of the last little while. And that will almost certainly help the grass from a fertilization point of view and from a rest point of view. Now we're going to go to one more waterhole on Cheetah Plains, and then we're going to head back to Djuma, because other than buffalo and 3 elephants, there ain't a great deal going on out here. It's funny how that works. I was really rather hoping to find Quarantine and Inkanyeni, and I really want to compare the size of Quarantine to his older brother Shivambalani, who we saw the other day, and I think Quarantine's bigger, even though he's 2 years younger, which is very unusual indeed. David, I think you described Quarantine as a bit of a beast, didn't you? He's a big fellow. Which is interesting because his father is not very big. Must get it from one of his grandfathers. Ah, we found another buffalo, David. Oh no, we haven't, it's a log. Never mind, everyone. There's a very dark log just inside there. Ooh, we don't often get this opportunity. Aqua, very good question from you, and I'm not sure I know the answer, so while I ascend this termite mound in order to get some leaves off this brown ivory tree to show them to you, I will think about it. You say, why were there no mongoose or birds eating those maggots? Well, I think there were no mongoose because it's muddy and watery, and I think they'd drown if they tried to eat there. And secondly, the birds, I don't know why there wouldn't be birds there. But I mean, you seldom see birds actually at a kill site. Even if it's not in the water, you seldom see them eating the maggots, which is quite interesting. I've never thought about it. Thank you, Aqua, for confusing me completely on this hot day. There's a spider hunting a wasp. Thought it was going to hunt me for a second. This is a brown ivory, everybody. Berkemia discolor, and you can see there the very, very distinctive venation. Looks sort of herringbone venation is what we call it. And if you ever see that herringbone venation and you're on safari here in Africa, well, you know it's an ivory, either red or brown. This is the brown one. It's growing on a termite mound, along with I don't know what along with. I think it's a false marula. Beautiful. Isn't it lovely? Very nice. When one doesn't have animals, one must look at trees. On we go. Plug in. There we go. Now, those of you who are watching on the Periscope Twitter test, we're going to bid you a fond farewell. Thank you for watching. Join us if you'd like to, wildsafariLive.com. Otherwise, I'm sure we'll Periscope again if this one was successful. David, up in the top of that tree. European bee eaters, everybody. Well done, Dave. I stopped too late. We haven't had a good sighting of them, or I haven't this year. I know we have seen them though. Right, Taylor is back on Djuma, everybody. I'm not sure what she's got. Let's go and find out what her plans are for the rest of the afternoon.
So, like James said, we are definitely back on Djuma, and what I thought we would go and do is perhaps, we're on via tele-access at the moment, let's pop past the Djuma pan and see what's happening there, and see if there's maybe an elephant or buffalo or a hippo, and then, well, we'll probably go and check that old buffalo carcass that the lions took down yesterday, and go see if there's any vultures around there, just because we didn't get to spend too much time with the vultures. But a drive is not complete. Like a drive is not complete without Impala, it's also not complete without a lilac-breasted roller, which we have got over here. Hello, roller. Now, obviously, it's quite difficult to see these against the grey sky. And I think it has just eaten something, the way that it is opening and closing its mouth like that. What's your next move? There's lots of dragonflies around at the moment, so I wonder if that's what the birds aren't preying on. Especially something like a roller, the purple rollers, of course, or the lilac-breasted rollers. Even the drongos, they're very much acrobatic in the sky. And they are able to utilize and catch very fast-moving insects. And let's see what your next move is going to be. They're very quick. It's landing. Oh, what's on the ground? Termites. Oh, it looks like, is it ants or termites carrying something? Can you see all those things? I can just see them walking around with bits of grass. Perhaps they are harvester termites. And that would make a lot of sense, because the harvester termites go out and collect bits of grass and sort of cut them off, and then they bring them to their hole, the entrance of the hole. Here's a dragonfly I was talking about. And I think that's exactly what that's eating. Well, you better gobble all those termites up, because they're very good for you. Now, this is what you call essentially a buffet. And I'm sure some of those termites will make it back to their mound without being gobbled up by this lilac-breasted roller. You're going to be so full after this. You're not going to be able to fly anywhere. You're going to have to just walk around. But a delicious and nutritious meal nonetheless. Is anybody counting how many termites that this lilac-breasted roller has eaten? I didn't. I should have, though. That could have been another little experiment we could have done today. How many termites does it take to fill a lilac-breasted roller? Perhaps we'll have to start again next time, or maybe one of you were counting. But you can see that crop is starting to get full now. It's starting to bulge just a little bit. Sort of just below the purple throat. Oh, it's moving around. Have you seen something bigger? No. Done with the termites. Wasn't that incredible to see? This is a very obliging lilac-breasted roller, I must say. One of the better sightings I've had of this stunning bird. And even just to see them for a brief moment is usually quite amazing. But to see them flying from branch to branch and then landing and eating almost quite a few termites. And off it goes. Look at those beautiful colors that come through. And into the distance, it disappears. That was incredible! Yes, Louise just described this sighting as gorgeous. Those were her exact words. How do you spell that, Louise? Gorgeous. Alright, we're going to carry on. We're going to do what we said. We're going to head towards the pan and see what we got. Oh, elephants.